What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, Feleicia Mulkey stops by to talk Baylor Acrobatics and Tumbling. It's National Championship Week, and it gets all underway today. Don't forget you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod, and follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill. And Jerry, National Championship Week. Here we go again. A&T going for their 9th straight natty.
It's crazy, Justin. I mean, I can remember the UCLA deal with that's a little bit before my time. So I'm more like, UConn women, something like that. There's just not very many streaks like this where a team will win this many national championships in a row. And obviously Coach Fee, she's won them all. So, just dominant and, man, what a great program. What a great job she's done, really both at Oregon and at Baylor.
Yeah, Coach Mulkey, she's special. I mean, honestly, it's just one of those situations where, you look at the team meetings. I've been in a lot of meetings, okay? I've been with football, multiple coaches. We can think about the coaches over the years in the last 10 years, men's and women's basketball, same thing. And I'm telling you right now, the intensity for her meetings are right up there with any coach we've ever had. And she gets it, she cares, and she gets the most out of her team. And I think that's you got to be unique these days. You can't talk to people the same way you did in 2004, Jerry. But you can still get the most out of your athletes, and she has that pulse, and she's able to do that.
Yeah, and she has such a passion for this sport. That's the thing. I mean, yes, she has a passion for Baylor, and she certainly has a passion for Baylor Acrobatics and Tumbling, but man, she has such a passion for this sport, and you see it, and it's authentic. She's not just saying these things. She really wants to see this sport continue to grow, and she likes the fact that, maybe that gap has narrowed a little bit. Other teams are getting better, that kind of thing. And you're seeing more competition, more competitive meets. But yeah, she is special, Justin. I think she's been, such a find for Baylor, and amazing things that she's done during this last 10-year stretch at Baylor.
We're now joined by Baylor Acrobatics and Tumbling head coach Feleicia Mulkey. Coach, thank you for your time. Always an honor to talk with you. We're in Fairmont, West Virginia for the National Championships. 9 years ago in 2015, you and your program won its first national championship at Baylor. An interesting storyline. How cool is it to be back here again?
It's great. And I haven't been back. I don't think I've been back since then. So it's good to be back. This is Fairmont State's one of our original schools. So love the administration and the coach that they have here, and they've done such a great job. So it's good to be back in Fairmont.
Yeah, the facilities and everything, they've done a great job with the lighting. I'm super excited about that with the photography and video to see that upgrade. But, for you guys, you've stayed at the top, and I've always thought, and you've been hunting for several years, but I've always believed it's hard to get to the top, but it's even harder to stay on top. What kind of challenge is that for you and your program?
It is just constantly, we just constantly reinvent ourselves. And I think if you're from the outside looking in, you may think, well, they expect to win. And of course, you expect it. I think everybody should prepare and expect to win. Right. But, I think we make ourselves the underdog, and we work as hard and harder than anyone else. And then we really just worry about us. I feel like other teams maybe worry about us, but we worry about us. So just kind of focus on those little things. We focus on the journey more than we do the end result. And then day by day, we just try to do our job, get a little bit better each day. But yeah, it is. You definitely, everybody cheers for the underdog. I probably cheer for the underdog in other sports. So just have to get used to that and roll with it. It's fine. It's lonely. So.
every year brings new opportunity and challenges. Your team lost some incredible seniors last year, but you have players who have stepped up into new roles and some incoming freshmen as well. What's it been like to watch that journey and that process over the season?
Just really proud of them. You know, we lost, like you said, some great seniors, but then you see the freshmen from last year as sophomores now stepping up. You've got, as seniors this year, you have Riley Chimwala, Bailey Humphrey, Zoe Collins, Allie Joswick, Kristen McCain, names that you've heard, and they've been there and they've been constant through the last 4 years. And you see them now, you know, out in the forefront. So they've really led us through the year. And it's fun to see, and I talked about this in another interview a week or so ago, but, you know, look how many freshmen are out there for us. And you hear a lot of people say, well, we have young teams, you know, you have, and probably throughout the NCATA, I'm talking about just sports in general. Oh yeah, we have a young team. Right now in our tumbling event, 2 of our 3 individual passes are freshmen and the other one is a sophomore. Our quad pass is now made up of 2 freshmen, a junior and a senior. So you usually don't see freshmen in that high profile of spaces, you know? And so we've got this great upper class group that's really embraced this younger group. The sophomores are coming into their own. So same philosophy as we always have, but definitely a different team.
You look at, you mentioned Riley, one of your seniors, 7 seniors on the team. You have 14 freshmen. So, you know, a lot of youth on this team, which is exciting about the future, but 7 seniors. Riley, one of your leaders. What does she mean to your team?
She is just a rock. I mean, she does everything. She can do everything. If you watch her, just one of the premier bases in the sport, in my opinion, the best base in the sport. You know, she can hold, if you watch her, she bases at least 3 different people throughout, maybe 4 throughout the meet. And that's not, and basing them at these really high level, intricate skills, that's not usual. Usually you have a base that works with one top. And Riley just kind of is able to work with everybody. So skill wise, she's just amazing. And then she's such a great leader. She's calm, cool, collected. She's the ultimate team player, embraces everyone around her. It's never been about her. As a matter of fact, I'm the one saying we need to be talking about Riley Chimwala. Like, look at what she's doing, because she doesn't do what she does loud. She just does it very well.
We've said this for a while. A lot of coaches have said it. I've truly believed it, that the best pound for pound athletes at Baylor come from the Baylor Acrobatics and Tumbling team, whether it's men or women. But, you know, and so you not only have the talent of your team, but this sport, there's also a lot of mental to it as well, you know? And so what percentage, where do you lie there? I mean, you get ready for a championship like that. It's not just you have to execute, but you got to prepare your mind to be ready to perform.
Yeah. It's pressure. You know, people ask if there's pressure to stay at the top. I mean, it's pressure to just compete in the sport. Because if you think about it, we're working against a 10.0 scale. We're working against perfection every day. And so you have to be careful. I told him today at practice, because there was somebody did, you know, nothing terrible, and acro came down, and I said, hey, you don't have to be perfect today. So we're constantly striving for perfection. So I think you have to figure out a way to understand where that margin of error is, and then celebrate within that. So we try, you know, if there are 2 humans, and very rarely do you get a 10, but if there are 2 humans involved in an acro, what are the odds that they're going to do the exact same thing every single time? Truly, what are the odds, right? And so there's a little margin for error. Then add a pyramid where you've got 8 people. What are the odds that those people are going to do the exact same thing every single time? So really have to prepare ourselves to simply do their job. And then, you know, kind of, I don't know, take the pressure off themselves, but do their job and try to do the same thing every single time. And then be okay with it when it's not perfect. I think when you have athletes coming in from the gymnastics world, like all of us do, they're always striving for perfection. And sometimes that can be a bad thing. So we try to make it fun, keep it light, and, you know, nobody's perfect. I mean, how many 10s are you actually going to get? So you get as close as you can.
I've seen a few over the years from your team. It's always
fun
to see that.
But rarely have you seen one where I go, yeah, that wasn't a 10, you know, because I'm their toughest critic. But that it's a hard score to get. They have not been throwing those around. So I'm not expecting to see one at the tournament. I'll be really surprised.
All right, let's speak of the tournament. The quarterfinals on Thursday, semifinals Friday, Saturdays, the national championship, and of course on Sundays, the individual competition. All of that can be seen on ESPN Plus. Really looking forward to that. Let's look at the rankings and kind of the matchups. When you look at the top 8, of course, you guys at the top there will take on Fairmont State, the host team. You have Oregon and Mary Hardin Baylor there at the 4 and the 5, Oregon being the 4. Gannon and Azusa Pacific, the 3 and the 6, and Quinnipiac, Frostburg State, Quinnipiac being the number 2 seed. What do you make of some of these matchups? We can go kind of matchup by matchup and some of your top competition.
Okay. Yeah, I really encourage, if folks are listening to this and they haven't watched acrobatics and tumbling, I was texting a friend earlier, tune into this tournament. It's going to be so good. There are going to be some really great matchups. So, us against Fairmont and Frostburg are both from the Mountain East Conference, and they are just kind of a powerhouse conference every year. Both teams, I think, I can't remember if they won, like if they split during the year, if they saw each other twice. I think Fairmont won during the regular season, and they have a conference championship, and then Frostburg won by a slim margin in the conference championship. So these two teams are pretty seasoned. And I think what you'll see with Fairmont and Baylor is our start values are a little bit higher, which doesn't mean anything if you can't execute. Fairmont will be a great competitor. You're just going to see in the second half, our start values are a little bit higher. So keep that in mind as you're watching the scores come through. And I think in our team event, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a gap. But Fairmont's a great team, great tumbling team, very well coached. So I think that'll be a good matchup. The meet right before ours is, I think, UMHB and Oregon, and that's going to be great. They haven't seen each other, I don't think, this year. I've seen both of them, and UMHB is kind of the Cinderella team that's coming up, this Division III team that is the first Division III team that's gotten into the team championship. There's been some teams get into the event finals, but not to the team championship. And I think people overlook them, but they are a really good first half team. We saw them, I think, our second meet of the season, and they held their own with us. I mean, I think they were within tenths of us going into the second half. We pulled a little bit ahead in tumbling, but honestly, not a ton. And then we did not have a great team event that day. And they actually beat us in team event. They scored like a 93 in team event. We scored a 92. So UMHB is dangerous. So I think that's going to be a great meet to watch. Oregon is great. We've seen them twice this year. They've improved immensely from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. You can see the work they've done. They've upped their start values. So they'll go in against UMHB with significantly higher start values. But what's going to make that meet really interesting is that UMHB just executes everything they do really, really well. And Oregon does too, but rarely do you see it in acrobatics and tumbling where the start values are here and you can really execute a lower start value and score higher, than the higher start value. So that one's going to be fun. So I encourage everybody to tune into that one. Two really good teams, both really well coached. Rafi Scotto is a former Bear. Taylor is a former Duck. She's the coach at Oregon, and her assistant coach is a recent grad from Oregon. So super cool. Both of them, I have a lot of respect for that program. Then you have APU and Gannon, and I think they may have seen each other earlier in the year. APU has improved immensely. I watched their last meet against Oregon, and APU is a really, really good team. They always have been for years. And they struggled in the first half, I think, early in the season, but you can tell they've really worked on their tumbling. Their team event has cleaned up. So I think, and Gannon is a great team. You saw them when they came down to Baylor this year. So I think that's going to be a good matchup and could go either way. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Gannon's fantastic, competed for a championship a couple of years ago. And the sophomores, I think, who were on that team who were runner-up, in the nation, are now seniors. So they're veteran team. That's going to be fun. And then the first meet tomorrow, if you're up and you get a chance to watch it, is Quinnipiac versus Frostburg. And I don't know a ton about Frostburg other than they just won the Mountain East Conference. Their head coach, Katie Nunley, does a fantastic job. I watched a little bit of their conference meet, and great team, great team event, lots of energy. I would not sleep on Frostburg. Quinnipiac did not get to see in the regular season this year. And they're doing great. They have about I think 3 or 4 seniors who just have really, really clean tumbling. And you see that in the second half, and they're beautiful tumblers. And then they have just a rock star assistant coach. Her name is Cameron Diaz. She came on about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. She was one of their athletes. So I remember watching her come through the ranks, and then she's transitioned into coaching, and she has really just done a fantastic job. I think she's a rising star in the coaching ranks, and I think someone's probably going to kind of snap her up at some point, but she's done a great job, and you can really see her impact there. So that should be a good meet too. Quinnipiac's a great team, and they're going to, I think Frostburg is going to give them a run for their money, but I think that one's going to come down to start value as well. But that's my take. If I were an analyst, you just got it. Like, so if you think I have a job ahead of me as an analyst, because I gave you my best.
No, that's a great breakdown. And I'll say too, how much do you watch these other meets? You're keeping an eye on this, right? You and your team are watching to see how these things are transpiring, right?
Yeah, I think the team watches when they can. I really just enjoy the sport, so I love to watch and when I get the time. So I try to watch throughout the year. I love to see the progression throughout the year. Like I said, Oregon has really improved over the course of the year, and their start values are improved. So I'm a fan of the sport, so I tend to watch quite a few meets when I can. But yeah, it's fun. I encourage everyone. I said all of that. It was probably too many words, but I said all of that. So, I mean, it's a sport, Justin. There's these stories behind these teams. It's not just people going out there and performing. There's these stories behind these teams, and this is going to be, I think this is one of the best. All 4 meets tomorrow are really, really good matchups. So I think if you happen across one on ESPN Plus, you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. And you speak of watch. The last question, we'll get you out with this one. The community was watching today. So we're practicing and doing a warm up at Fairmont State in their rec center. And I literally saw dozens of people just stop what they're doing to watch your team. I mean, really impressive, just cool. I mean, the fact that, your career and the legend. I mean, you think about Nick Saban in football, Feleicia Mulkey in acrobatics and tumbling. It's the same thing. And so what was that like? I don't know if you caught that, but it was pretty neat to see those people stop.
I saw it, but this is what I thought. This is how I took it. So we were in their Falcon Center, which if you guys haven't been on Fairmont State's campus, this facility is absolutely gorgeous. This is their rec center. So at Baylor, they're slick, if you will. And it is just absolutely gorgeous. And so while we're practicing down on the bottom floor, there's a weight room on the second floor, and there's a Starbucks, and there's all this stuff going around. And I did see people stop and come over, but I honestly just thought they would probably, and you probably think I'm crazy, but I think they would do that with any team that's down there practicing. The average human cannot do what the women on any of these teams can do. So I have a feeling that, yeah, they were watching us, but I bet you they watched every team before us. And I think there was one team after us, because no matter how athletic you are, if you haven't trained, particularly in gymnastics, you probably haven't watched people balance on their hands and be thrown in the air. And so I think it's just, for me, I didn't look at it as, oh, they're watching Baylor. I kind of was like, yeah, I mean, everybody should come to a meet. I just figured they were watching everybody that were down there, because your average human can't do this. I always tell people about coming to a Baylor meet. You've heard me say this before. So I'll say this to anybody who can watch this, or if you're in Fairmont and you want to come to the meet. You don't have to know what's going on. You will be absolutely entertained by the athleticism of these women on every one of these 8 teams. You'll be so entertained. So I kind of think that was what's going on, because we went to CrossFit this morning. The staff and I went to CrossFit. So I made some friends, and I told them to come over, and the coach was talking to me about it. And I went, no, just come at some point tomorrow. The athleticism of the women in that gym will just amaze you. And I think it's overlooked sometimes. We take it for granted, but I always call it feats of strength. These women are just daily, and not just Baylor, every team, acrobatics and tumbling team, just daily feats of strength. That's what they're doing. So did you think they were just watching because it was Baylor? I don't know. I think it was because people were throwing people around. That's kind of where I was.
I think they should have been watching Baylor, right?
And
we'll see.
They're doing great.
Yeah, we'll see over the next couple days. I think the crowds could get a lot bigger, but yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I mean, you've been obviously in the sport, but just from afar, I've covered a lot of different sports, and you just think about the athleticism, the strength, the ability, the flexibility. I mean, I have a hard time doing calf raises or leg raises, and I'm seeing some of these things that they're doing. I'm just like, oh, I need to get back in the gym. So yeah, it's inspirational. But really looking forward to this weekend, and just appreciate all your time, and best of luck.
Thank you.
It all gets underway today here at 9:30 Central Time in Fairmont, West Virginia. Frostburg State taking on Quinnipiac. It's 7 versus the 2. And then at 12:30, it's Azusa Pacific against Gannon. That's the 6 versus the 3. At 3:30, UMHB taking on Oregon. And then at 6 o'clock Central Time, Fairmont State taking on Baylor. All competitions on ESPN Plus. And Jerry, it's just it's getting underway, and we're gonna see. We'll see if it's chalk. A lot of people here think it might be chalk. 1 through 4 there, but that's why you play the game, right? To see what happens. And so it's gonna be a fun week here. And we talked about it during the interview, but this is really something else. It's one thing to get to the top. It's a whole different thing to stay there. You're hunted every year. Pretty much everybody in the building doesn't want Baylor to win, right? Can we get a new team to win? That's probably the thought. But yet, year after year, Baylor has won, and they'll look to do it again this week.
Yeah, and I think because of Coach Fee, I'm not sure that there's a lot of coaches, people pulling against her, but maybe against Baylor a little bit, just because you have won 8 consecutive national championships. But Coach Fee has won 12. So, she is just so likable. I can't imagine people actually rooting against her. When you were talking about chalk, I think I could see it going straight chalk. It was surprising to me that UMHB was up there and was a number 5 seed. They've done a great job, fairly new program there, about 4 or 5 years old. So what a great job they've done. When I look at the field, it seems like there's a little bit of a separation there. You've got those top 4, and maybe there's not a ton of separation in the top 4, but then I think 5 through 8, I think there's a clear line there where the top 4 are just better than the next 4. But granted, these are the top 8 teams, and that's the thing. Not everybody makes it here. This is not, hey, let's hand out trophies to everybody. Let's bring everybody. No, there's 8 teams, and there's a whole lot more teams than that. So congrats to these 8, for just getting here. I think it'll be hard for those 5 through 8 to get through that first round and pull off an upset or 2 here.
It's a pretty incredible team for Baylor. You think about 14 freshmen on this team, 7 seniors. This team's just going to get better and better. It seems year after year, they get more and more athletic. And you look at some of the freshmen, Emily Bott, Peyton Washington, 2 of the top in tumblers. They're going to be stars in the making in the future. And just a senior class, Riley Chimwala, we talked about that with Coach Fee, but also Bailey Humphrey. Final time for Bailey Humphrey, and just the strength that she has and the things that she can do that really no other woman in the country can do out here. Pretty impressive. So one final hurrah for these seniors, Jerry.
Yeah, and Bailey, you're right. She comes from that acro world, and really her and Riley both have brought a lot of things to the table that we're just different for this sport. Like it was common in their acro world, but it was really new to acro and tumbling. And so they brought a lot of new ideas, and Coach Fee's not one to turn people down. Like if they want to try something, sure, let's try it, and let's get it, judged, and let's see what the strength is, that kind of thing. But she's not afraid to try stuff. And that's the thing. If you've won that many in a row, you could really easily just get settled in, and this is the way we won, and this is how we're going to win. And we're not going to try to, do anything different. We're just going to do what we do. But she just keeps trying different stuff. And you're right. This group of seniors, they've been fantastic. Bailey and Riley at the top of that list, but there's other good seniors in there as well. And I know that Coach Fee has talked about it. It's difficult to even think of them as being seniors. And I think one of the things she told us was that, she's not going to accept it until they just don't show up next August, So I think it'll be a little emotional for her, if they're in that championship match, which, we all expect them to be, and they win it all again. I think Fee will get a little emotional just because it's every senior class is probably that way with her. But this has been a really special group, that's kind of done it the right way and really been impressive the whole time that they've been here.
I know Bailey has said that she might try for the rugby team. Would love to see her maybe give the WWE a shot. She's got the personality, certainly has the physique, and I think she could do incredible things there. We'll see what the future looks like for Bailey Humphrey and the rest of the acrobatics and tumbling team. Gets underway today. Looking forward to that. That'll do it for this edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Thursday, and Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.